So Kyle Lowry got paid $31 million for one more season with the Raptors. I think part of this plays into the idea of kind of like a legacy contract sort of deal, rewarding Lowry for all that. I think another part of it is Toronto just keeping their options open. Because we know Masai Ujiri, he likes to be the one in control, but he's also doing Lowry a solid, and I think it's sending a good message to the rest of the league as well, and it's a perfect time to send it because this team is about to have a bunch of cap space, right? So could some free agent this offseason, granted it's not a flooded free agent class, but there's some good players there nonetheless, maybe they would see Toronto and they would see the fact that, Masai just did a solid to Lowry. They got Siakam coming up. And besides that, there's a whole bunch of money coming off the books that could be the difference between you getting a guy and not getting somebody. So that's pretty cool. And then from there, we don't know how Lowry's going to decline, but if he can keep on being pretty good, then between Lowry, some dude you signed, Siakam, of course, I don't think they're going to end up with one of the best players in the league out of free agency, but somebody pretty good, that could be a really good starting point for, I don't really want to say a rebuild because I don't think the Raptors are going to bottom out, but, just this next phase of this team where it's pretty much Siakam and you kind of figure it out from there, right? But I also think I mentioned the idea of Masai wants to be in control. There was a report that said that if they didn't give Lowry this contract, then he was going to ask for a trade and he was going to try to get moved to wherever. Now, his contract would have made that difficult, and this new one is still tough to trade because of the money, but it does give Masai a chance to trade Lowry. And I guess it could give him more options because, number one, Lowry's not going to walk into the season trying to get moved. So, I don't know, maybe he'll play better, and as a result, he would be more attractive to some other team. But now you could also move him in the offseason. Now, does this say much about what he plans to do with Ibaka or Marc Gasol? I don't know. Those guys are on 1 years, and those dudes are certainly tradable, and I think there's some teams that would like to have, definitely Gasol, and Ibaka's a little more iffy, but I don't know. I don't think Masai is going to prioritize just being as good as the Raptors can be this season. But I also don't know if he would just give away Gasol for nothing. Now, as far as what you would actually get for him, I don't know. It would depend on how much the other team really wants him and all that. But, what did it take to get Gasol from Toronto? For Toronto, it was DeLon Wright, Valanciunas, and I think there was a second-round pick in there or whatever. So it was essentially you got a good young center, which I think was a pretty damn solid return for where Gasol was at his age and where Memphis was at and all that. So is there a chance that the Raptors could get a good, younger, not too young, but younger player for Marc Gasol? Well, if we go down the NBA a little bit. And I know we're past the Lowry thing at this point, but I don't know, I feel like I got the Lowry thing out of the way in about 2 minutes, but I do think with how interesting this season could be for the Raptors with trading everyone, trading no one, I think Masai doing anything is at least somewhat of a sign of things to come, I guess. Or maybe it isn't. Maybe I'm just trying to stretch this out. But anyway, looking at NBA teams, who could use Marc Gasol? Funny enough, I think Milwaukee could definitely use him. However, I don't really know what a move there would be unless the Bucks just wanted to get out of Bledsoe's contract and they did Bledsoe for Gasol and they were confident enough that between George Hill and Giannis's ball handling and Wesley Matthews, they would just have enough to make up for the loss of Bledsoe. You could also argue with how bad Bledsoe's been in the playoffs 2 years in a row, it wouldn't be a loss at all. And I guess to make the money work, you're probably putting Ilyasova in there, and he also has a non-expiring, or a non-guaranteed deal, I guess, so that could be something. Whether the Raptors would actually want to go down that path, I don't know. I think the Warriors would definitely want Gasol, but I don't really know how they would make the money work. I don't think they would put D'Angelo Russell in that. Capella for Gasol would be another one worth talking about. I mean, the difference in their salaries is about $10 million, but the Rockets have a whole bunch of trade exceptions, which could mean something. At least one of them is like $3.2 million. So then that just closes the gap a little bit, and maybe Daryl Morey would have some genius plan to get Gasol or whatever. The idea of that would be Capella falls short in the playoffs, and then you just get out of that money after Gasol's done for one season. So yeah, another team would be like the Clippers. I don't know how you'd make that work. I don't even feel like looking really, but yeah, I feel like these things are worth talking about after the Lowry extension, because maybe there's a chance. I mean, hell, is there a crazy idea that Masai just runs it all back for one season, re-sign Gasol for a year, re-sign Ibaka for a year, because there's no obvious move out there. You don't get a sense that you've really got a chance at a free agent, and you'd rather just have all these guys for another season. That can certainly be good for Siakam's growth as well. I mean, there's no reason to tear it all down. You can transition from winning the finals and your star player leaves, and now you've got a bunch of pretty good dudes and one rising star. You can go from that to surrounding that rising star with more young talent without becoming terrible. And I think Masai is definitely smart enough to do that. And I think this Lowry re-signing is step one. I'm sure they've got a roadmap here, and whether that means Gasol and Ibaka come back, or maybe just Gasol would come back. If we're going to pick one of those two, it's probably him. Don't know, but it will be interesting.